everyone, in today's video I'm going to teach you how to make this 2-color striped bag. All you need is a 7mm crochet needle and 2 of your favorite Jute medium yarns. So let's get started. To start with, we're going to work with color number 1. So remember, we're going to have 2 different colors for this bag, and the first color is the base color. So I chose a light brown, but of course you can pick any one you like. And step number 1 is we're going to make a slip knot. So grab the yarn, wrap it around your fingers so they cross over, slide the loop off and pull the yarn through like this. There you have a slip knot. So now we're going to make a chain of a total of 29 loops. So you wrap the yarn around the needle, you hook it and pull through the loop like that. Hook it again and pull through. So now we have 2 loops. One more time, 3 and 4. And just repeat until you have 29. 27, 28, and 29. So now we have our chain. And now we're going to start building the base for the bag. So in the second loop from your needle, so we have 1, 2, that's where we start. So dive down in that loop with your needle, hook the yarn and pull it up. And we're going to make a single crochet. So with these 2 loops, we hook the yarn again and pull through both loops. And that's a single crochet. In the next step, in the next stitch, we make the same. So dive down with the needle, hook the yarn and pull it up. So you have 2 loops around your needle, hook the yarn again and pull through both loops. And keep making single crochets, 1 in every stitch, all the way to the end of the chain. So now I'm almost at the end, so I make a few more. And the last 2. And the last one in here. And now you should have a total of 28 stitches on this first row. So now we made 1, and we're going to make another 5, so we get a total of 6 rows. So to continue, we always end the row with making a chain. Just hook it and pull it through, and then we turn the work around like this. And again, we start in the first stitch right here. So we dive down in the top 2 loops there. Then you hook the yarn and pull it up, make a single crochet. And again, we dive down in the next stitch right here, hook the yarn and pull it up. Hook the yarn again and pull through both loops. And continue doing this until you have a total of 6 rows. So now I'm at the end of my 6th row. I'm just going to make the 2 final stitches here and the last one. And again, we end with the chain like this. Then we continue with the next step. So now I have turned my work around, and for this step we're going to crochet all the way around the base. And don't worry if it starts like twisting like this, it's fine. And for this round we're going to also make an increase in every corner, and the increase is 2 single crochets in every corner stitch. So when we start, we're going to make a single crochet in the first stitch like that. And then the same one, you make another. So we get a nice rounded corner. And then just keep making a single crochet all the way to the other corner, and I will meet you there. So now I'm at the other corner. I'm just going to make the last one here. So this is the last stitch. And now we're making the increase, so we make another one in the same stitch. So I have a total of 2. And then for the short side here, we're going to make a total of 4 until we get the next corner. So here in between these rows. So I dive down here and I make 1. Let me just get a little bit more yarn. And here in the next one, 2. Now you can see it starts to become a little bit more rounded. That's what we want. Number 3 and 4. Now we're at the other corner here. So I'll make another increase in the first stitch. So now we're like at the first slip knot we made at the very beginning. So that's where we start for this corner, or you can do it here, wherever it feels right for you. So we'll make an increase. So I'll make 1 and 2. Get the right yarn there. Oops. So I'll make 2. And now, since we have this tail here, we can hide that as we crochet along this edge. So I just crochet around it like this. That way you have nicely hid this, so you don't have to do that later. And again, just keep crocheting all the way to the 4th corner. Again, when you get to this other corner here, we're going to make it an increase. Let's see. This is the final stitch here. I think it's the final stitch. Then we'll make a second one like that. And again, we'll make another 4 here on the short side until we connect at the start. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So here we have the first stitch we made for the round. So in this, we're going to make a slip stitch to connect the round. So just pull the yarn through the loop and pull it through both loops like that. There you have a slip stitch. So now we are done with the base. Now we're going to start building the bag upwards. So for the next step, we're going to start building the bag upwards, so the wall of the bag. And for that to happen, we're not going to make any more increases. So we're just going to keep the same amount of stitches that we have. And for this round, it's 68. So we want to keep it that way. So you just start with, if you already haven't, made a chain. And then we're just going to keep making single crochets, 1 in every stitch all the way around. So now we start in the same stitch as where you bind or connect it around. So we get a total of 68. Here we go. So I make 1. And since we started with the chain, this is the chain we use to like get up a little bit higher, so the first stitch doesn't get too like narrow. So this is where you will connect around when you come back. If you want, you can put a marker there and just keep making single crochets all the way around, and I will meet you there and show you how we finish. So now I'm all the way around. I make my final 2 stitches. So again, remember this stitch right here is the one we made, that's the extra chain, so we don't want to use that one. And if you feel insecure about that, just count your stitches and go backwards. That's usually the easiest. So I make the last single crochet. And again, if you want to count to make sure you haven't added or missed anything, just count backwards from here all the way to the start so you know where to connect the round. So I'm diving in the first stitch and I'm making a slip stitch. That's it. Now you can see that it's starting to grow upwards a little bit here. And you start doing that because we're not making any increases, so it can't keep growing outwards, so it grows upwards. So for the next step, just keep crocheting another 5 rounds the same way. So you have a total of 6 rounds for this step. And then we'll meet you at the next step where we invite the second color. Final stitches on round number 6. So now we're going to introduce color number 2. So we dive down in the last stitch, pull the yarn up, and make the final single crochet like this. So you don't close the last stitch. And then we introduce color number 2. So grab the yarn, and we're gonna do the slip stitch with the new color here. So keep color A on the inside of the bag, and with the new color, you just fold it in half so it creates like a U shape. And then dive down in the first stitch, hook the yarn, and pull it through so you make a slip stitch. Just pull this yarn tight here, and this one too, like that, so it looks like this. And then make a chain. And now we're going to crochet 1 round single crochets with color number 2 all the way around. And you don't have to cut color number 1 off yet. We're still going to use it very soon. But I do hide the tail as I crochet around the edge here. So again, we dive down in the same stitch as we made the slip stitch, hook the yarn and pull it up and make our first single crochet like that. And just keep making single crochets all the way around. And you see I hide the tail here as I go. Final stitches here on this round. So again, when you get to the last stitch, which is here, this one, you make your last single crochet with color number 2, and then we get color number 1 back. So we dive in. I want this on the inside again here. So dive in in the first stitch, hook color number 1 around, and make a slip stitch like that, and then a chain. And now we crochet another round, or sorry, 2 rounds with color number 1 again. So we dive down in the first stitch and make a single crochet, and then repeat or crochet a total of 2 rounds until we go back to color number 2. Here you can see it. I'm just going to show you. This is what it should look like from the front. So you see nice rounds. You can just pull this a bit tight there. Final stitches here on the second round. And 1, say last one here. So again, now we're going to introduce color number 2 again. So for that, if you want to cut this off, it's okay. But since there's a very short section between the stripes we're making, I think it's just easier to do it this way. But you do any way you like. So again, we dive down in the first stitch, grab the new color, wrap it around, oops, and make the slip stitch like this. Just pull this tight like that. Then again, make a chain, maybe not too tight, like that. And then you continue. So for this section, for this stripe with color number 2, we're going to make 3 rounds of single crochet. So dive down in the first stitch, make a single crochet, and just keep going. And I will show you what it looks like again. You see, from the front, it looks like this. Looks pretty good. So now I am almost done with round number 3. And before I finish, I just want to show you. So we're going to introduce color number 1 again. But if you don't want the string like this on the inside, I'm just going to show you. So if you cut it off here, and we'll introduce it again when we're done with the round. So I'll finish crocheting the last few stitches. Like this last one here. So remember, the first time we introduced color number 2 down here, we grab the yarn and then you just do it the same way. So instead of sorry, we go back here. No, there we go. So we're gonna make the slip stitch with the second color or the first color. So dive down in the first stitch, grab the yarn, pull it through like it's a slip stitch. And just pull it tight and pull this tight. So again, we're just gonna have the color number 2 on the inside because we're only gonna crochet 2 rounds with color number 1. So these are just 2 different methods. You get the same result, but if you don't want the string like this on the inside, this is the other way to do it. Okay, so just keep crocheting. So we make a chain first, and then we crochet 2 rounds with color number 1. Dive down here where we made our slip stitch, pull it through, and then we hide this tail as we go again. So now I'm making the final stitches of my second round with color 1. Let's see, one more here. Now we're going to introduce color number 2 again. But before we do that, I just want to show you. If you cut off and have a string like this, you can just hide this. You just weave it in between the stitches with the crochet needle. It's easier if it's smaller. I'm just going to try and show it to you. Just hook it and pull it through. Like, oh, that was tight. This, so you get it in between the stitches. And then you just cut it off when you're done. Okay, so let's continue. So for the next step, we're going to introduce color number 2 again. So remember, we make a slip stitch with the new color. Keep this yarn inside, maybe like this. Grab color number 2, make your slip stitch like that. We pull this yarn tight, make a chain, and then now we have a lot of strings going on here. Okay, let me just organize myself. So again, make 1 round with color number 2. So we start in the same stitch where we made a slip stitch. Then you make your first single crochet and just keep crocheting all the way around. Finishing stitches this round. And again, we're going to introduce color number 1. So when you finish your last stitch, grab color number 2, sorry, number 1, and make the slip stitch with that color. And then you make a chain, and again, we start 2 rounds with color number 1 for this step. So now I'm back around again with round number 2. And for the next step, we're gonna introduce color number 2 once more. So this goes back in, but this time I'm gonna cut off color number 1. I'm just gonna put it here for now, like this, and weave it in as I crochet the next round. But you just pick and do whatever you like. If you want to keep it on the inside and just pull it up when you need it back again, it's your choice. So I'm going to make a slip stitch with color number 2, like this. Tighten this here. Make a chain. See if you can see it properly. And then we make 3 rounds with color number 2. Let me go back because I want to weave this in like this. So I'm making my final few stitches. And once again, we're going to introduce color number 1. So I make my last single crochet here. And I want this on the inside. Now I bring in color number 1. And again, we make a slip stitch to introduce the new color. Like this. And I pull this tight, and we have this tight here as well. And then we make 1 chain, oops, wrong thread, 1 chain. And now we crochet 2 rounds with color number 1 before we make the last round with color number 2. And then we're going to continue making the top of the bag and the handles. But first, 2 rounds, single crochets with color number 1. So I'm crocheting my final stitches here on my second round. And once more, we're gonna bring back color number 2. So here we get this. And since we're only gonna make 1 round with color number 2, I'm gonna keep color number 1 here. So I'm not gonna cut it off, because then we're gonna crochet the top of the bag and the handles with color number 1. So just keep it and make the final slip stitch. So I go into the first stitch, I hook the yarn and pull through both loops like that, and I just pull this tight, and this, make a chain, and then we make 1 round with color number 2, and it's the last stripe for the bag. So now I'm crocheting the last stitches, and this is the final round with color number 2. So when you make your last stitch, I'm going to make my final one right here. I can see this is getting a bit too loose. So when you made your final single crochet with color number 2, we can just cut this off, and then we're gonna weave in the tail as we go later. So bring back color number 1, because now we're going to continue with the next step, which is the top of the bag. So we make the slip stitch here, right there, and just pull this tight, and then pull that tight too, make a chain, and again we keep crocheting, and you can crochet 4 rounds with color number 1 before we start the next step, that's the handles. So 4 rounds with the single crochets and color number 1. So now I have crocheted all my 4 rounds, and look how beautiful the stripes are. I love it. So for the next step, we're gonna make the handles for the bag. So I have prepped and placed 4 markers, 2 on this side and 2 on that side. And this is where the chains for the handles are gonna be. So grab some markers or anything you can use, like a piece of yarn, or just count. So do that, pause and come back, and then we're gonna crochet all the way up to the first marker, and then we're gonna make a chain. So I'm just gonna show you. So when you're done with the 4th round, as usually, we'll make a chain, and then we make our first single crochet here. So just make single crochets all the way up to marker number 1. And you can place your markers anywhere, so it doesn't matter where they are. It's just your personal preference. So a few more. And here, so I remove the marker like this, and then I make my final single crochet, and from this point now we're going to make a chain, and you can make it as long as you like. So this is the handle, the size of the handle, so make a chain, maybe try it on, and then we're going to connect the chain where the other marker is. So go ahead and do that. So now I made a chain that I think is long enough. Just for reference, it's 24 loops on my chain. And now I'm going to attach this chain to where my second marker is. So I'm just going to remove this safety pin here. And I'm going to attach it with a single crochet, like that. And then I just keep making single crochets all the way around to where my third marker is. Now crocheted all the way to the third marker. So I'm just going to remove that. Make one more where the marker was, and then make a second chain just as long as the first one. So another 24 for me. There we go. Now I'm going to attach it where I have my marker, the fourth marker. And then we make single crochets all the way back to the start. So now I have ended my round, and as you can see, we have a start for our handles. So for this last round, we're gonna crochet single crochets all the way around, but we crochet them around the chain, and I will show you what that looks like. So keep going and crochet single crochets all the way up to where the chain starts. You can see I have one more. And when you get to where the chain is, we dive in with the crochet needle inside the handle and then around the chain. We pull the yarn up, so you have 2 loops, and then you make your single crochets all the way around. And the amount of stitches around the handle doesn't matter. It's just to strengthen the handles. So there is no right or wrong here. And when I crochet around the handles like this, I like to pull the stitches down a little bit so they get nice and tight. So that way when you start using it and over time you stretch it out a little bit, it still looks nice and tight. And then when you feel like you're done with crocheting around the chain, we connect down here in the first, after the chain, and then just repeat the same step for the second chain and crochet all the way back to the end, and I will meet you there and show you how we finish. Now I'm going to end my round. I'm just going to make my final stitches here. Grab a little bit more yarn. So final single crochet, and now we're going to end the round with a slip stitch like this, and then you can just pull this loop a little bigger, grab a scissor, because we're almost done with the bag, cut it off, and pull the yarn through this loop all the way through, so you make a knot like that. And then we're just going to hide the tail. So I pull it in on the inside and just weave it in somewhere in between these stitches. Can be easier to use a smaller crochet needle, but I'm just going to try and make it work. So do that for a couple of times. And when you're done, let's say we're done now, put the needle down, cut the yarn off, and bam, you're done with your bag. Look at that. You've made it your very own striped bag. Great job. And thank you so much for crocheting with me and MYO today. Don't forget to check out more videos on our website, and I'll hope to see you in the next one. Bye.